Welcome, class. My name is Maria to Brown, and my purpose of this oral defense is understanding doctoral students' learning experience in qualitative research, an inductive thematic analysis of qualitative data reflection here at the University of Laverne. I am one of the doctoral students in this class, and welcome to my presentation. The first slide we're talking about here is phenomenal and context. This study focused on doctoral students enrolled in DBA 674, a qualitative research methods course. Students engage in learning qualitative inquiries through structured QDS, which is qualitative data sets, reflection prompts, which serve as the primary data source. I, as an individual, occupied a dual role as both instructor and researcher, allowing for close observation of the learning process while maintaining reflectivity throughout data collection and analysis. This slide, which is philosophical and theological frameworks, talk about constructivist and interpretivist paradigm, emphasizing reality as a co-constructed and focusing on meaning making and reflectivity. Transformative learning theory, which is Mazuro, which focuses on shifting assumptions and frameworks of references to support understanding of the learning experiences. We are going to address research questions. Our research questions here in these slides are: how do students describe learning qualitative research? Linked to theme one, which you will see, I'll go into more details later. Theme one talks about shifts in understanding, confidence development, and value of lived experience. Question two: how do reflection reveals shifts in assumptions? That's also linked to theme one, which is shift in understanding. Theme two, bias and reflectivity. And theme five, recognition of rigor. Question three: how do students perceive relevance to professional work? That is linked to theme three, confidence development, theme four, value of lived experience, and theme six, ethical sensitivity. These research questions guided my inductivity thematic analysis. Rather than testing a hypothesis, they focus on how doctoral students interpret their learning experiences, how reflection surfaces changes in assumptions, and how students connect qualitative inquiries to their professional context. In this slide, conceptual framework, this study was grounded in the interpretivist qualitative stance, focusing on how meaning is constructed through experiences. Participants included 10 doctoral students enrolled again in the DBA program 674. We identified the students as P1 through P10 to maintain confidentiality. Data consisted of reflective QDS responses, which were analyzed through an inductive coding process that moved from initial codes to themes and ultimately to findings. The methodology here is qualitative approach, inductive thematic analysis, Brown and Clark, six steps analytical framework. This highlights intentional choices, but not required. Let's talk a little bit about Brown and Clark's six phases of thematic analysis. Brown and Clark analysis, as followed, are the six steps frameworks, allowing themes to emerge directly from participants' reflective QDS responses rather than being imposed a prior. This approach aligns with the interpretivist stance of the study and supports an in depth exploration of doctoral students' learning experience. As you can see here, Brown and Clark's six phases of thematic analysis is familiarization with the data, generating initial codes, searching for themes, reviewing themes, defining and naming themes, and then moving on to producing the report. Data collection. So, this slide talks about data were collected through weekly written QDS responses submitted by students throughout the course. Each reflection was guided by structured prompts designed to support qualitative learning and reflectivity. To protect participants, confidentiality procedures were applied and all data was anonymized prior to analysis. Coding examples. So, following data familiarization, I conducted line by line coding across all QDS reflections. Coding were generated inductively, meaning they emerge directly from participants' words rather than from a predetermined framework. Examples of early codes included fear of bias, growing, growing confidence, and perceptions of qualitative research as rigorous. This slide right here illustrates how raw data moves through the analytical process. Individuals' excerpts were first assigned initial inductive codes, which were then grouped into broader analytical categories. These categories ultimately informed the development of themes. For example, early misconceptions about qualitative research were coded as misconceptions grouped under early assumptions and contributed to themes of reframing qualitative inquiries. Theme 1, shifts in understanding. So, let's devolve into our first theme. Shift in understanding. This theme emerges from our participants' experiences of correcting early misconceptions about qualitative research. Initially, many believed that qualitative research lacked depth or rigor. However, as they progressed, they began to appreciate the profound insights and rich understanding of it or understanding it can offer. This shift is vital because it marks a transformation in how they value and engage with qualitative methodologies. It's about moving from skepticism to deep appreciation. Remember, understanding these shifts help us better support new researchers as they navigate their own learning journeys. Next theme. The second theme center as bias and reflectivity. Students frequently reflected on their own assumptions and personalities, initially expressing concerns that bias might compromise rigor. Over time, many students began to understand reflectivity as an essential component of qualitative research, one that strengthens credibility through transparency and self awareness. The third theme, confidence development, reflects how students' engagement with qualitative methods foster a sense of competency and assurance. As students practiced coding and theme development, they gain confidence into not only understanding qualitative inquiries, but also in the ability to apply these methods within their professional and scholarly work. Theme 4. So, our fourth theme, value of lived experience, reflection reflects how students came to understand personal and professional experiences as meaningful contributors to qualitative analysis. Rather than viewing lived experience solely as a source of bias, students reframed it as an analytic resource that enriches interpretation and approach reflectively. The fifth theme, recognition of rigor, reflects a shift in how students evaluated qualitative research through hands-on engagement with coding, theme development, and reflective analysis. Students came to recognize qualitative inquiries as a systematic and disciplined process grounded in transparency and methodological care. The sixth theme, ethical sensitivity, reflects students' growing awareness of ethical dimensions of qualitative research. Through reflective practice, students emphasize the importance of confidentiality, respectful representation, and responsibility towards participants. Ethics were no longer viewed as procedural requirements, but as foundational to qualitative rigor. This slide, this slide right here illustrates how the emergent themes aligned with studies research questions. Rather than mapping one theme to a single question, themes intersect across questions, reflecting the complexities of students' learning experiences. This aligned this alignment demonstrates analytic coherence and supports the interpretive nature of study. Limitations. As with all qualitative research, this study has limitations. My dual role as an instructor and researcher required ongoing reflectivity to imitate or imitate potential influence on interpretation. The data set was intentionally small and prompt driven, which supports depth but limits breadth. 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 Additionally, I remained attentive to the possibility of overinterpretation, addressing this through careful coding and reflective review. Implications. These findings suggest several implications for doctoral education and professional practice. First, constructive reflective tools such as QDS, qualitative data sets, prompts can meaningfully support student engagement with qualitative inquiry. Second, explicitly addressing reflectivity and ethical sensitivity enhances student understanding of rigor. Finally, as students develop confidence in qualitative methods, they are more likely to apply these approaches within professional and organizational contexts. Reflection. Well, in conclusion, you guys, this study highlights doctoral students' growth in understanding qualitative research through structured reflection and engagement. Students came to value reflectivity and ethical care as central to rigorous qualitative practice, rather than as limitations. Overall, the findings suggest that reflective, prompt driven qualitative instructions can meaningfully prepare doctoral students for future qualitative research in both academic and professional context. With that said, I thank you for your time and I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year. Thank you. I'm done. Yay. Bye.